Also, we wanted to give you a save the date. Our next regional CLIC Community of Practice will be on Tuesday, November 17th. We'll be talking about Teaching California on that session. So all of our virtual communities of practice, if you're new to our sessions, they're all 1 hour, so 3:30 to 4:30. And I just put in the chat or the Zoom chat, this is our Zoom registration link for our November 17th session. We are joined not just by our California Global Education Project partner, but also our wonderful Region 7 team. Hopefully you've gotten to know us. If not, if this is your first time, we have a wonderful Region 7 team represented. I'll go from left to right. Stephanie Bobman, who's a teacher in Mariposa. Carrie Faria from Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. I'm Justin Paredes from Tulare County Office of Ed. We have Wasim Absoud, who's a teacher in Gustine Unified, and Dr. Audrey Garza, who is from Merced County Office of Education. So with that, I would like to do a brief introduction of Maureen McQuarrie. We're so thankful to have her for this hour. She is the project director for the California Global Education Project site at CSU Stanislaus. Our regional team was able to learn a little bit about the California Global Ed Project in our statewide community of practice in the spring. And we thought this is a wonderful resource, a wonderful project that will help history, social science educators, not just in our region, but statewide. So when we learned this information, we were so excited to share it with our region. So with that, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna turn it over to Maureen. Welcome, Maureen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I know that, as Justin said, these are really challenging times for teachers. So thank you for taking the time, and I hope to make it worth your while. And I am going to share my screen. Let's see, here we go. And is everybody able to see the opening page here? Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to take a quick inventory. If you all could let me know if you are basically teachers of history, social studies, or perhaps maybe even a different subject area. I'm just kind of curious on that. Could folks just unmute since we have such a small group and just give me a shout out as to whether or not you're all history, social studies, or if there's anybody who's not?
I am English language arts.
Okay.
I'm geography.
English. This is Carol, and I am ELA and history at the district level.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward with that. Thank you for that. So here we go. And I'm going to have Justin monitor the chat. And if everyone could maybe perhaps just hold off questions. We have a small group. I was going to do breakout rooms, but because we're so small, Justin, I think I'm going to skip that. Just a brief thing about me. I grew up in the Valley, Eastern Merced County, and I began teaching at Modesto City Schools at Davis High School, and basically ended up in the Bay Area. I was married at the time and my husband found work there. So I did most of my teaching, just over 20 years in both the San Jose Unified and Palo Alto Unified School Districts. And I was a history, social studies teacher, but I really enjoyed teaching about other countries and other nations, and did some traveling along the way, which brought me, I think, back to almost a full circle with this program back in the Valley. So some of you may be aware that there is quite a presence of the social, not just the Global Education Project, but there's the Great Valley Writing Project. Some of you may be familiar with the World Language Project. I believe we have a science project at Stan State, and a math project at Stan State. So we're part of that family that is basically been around since the 1990s. And Stanislaus State is one of 2 brand new sites. So UC Santa Barbara was also developed this year, and what a year to have this happen. So this is just to give you a perspective of where we're located. We're one of the smallest subject matter projects. So we tend to have fewer regional sites. And so it's really exciting to have one here in the Valley. So how do we develop the potential in every global citizen? That's basically a tagline that we've developed. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time on that. So I'm going to go ahead and see if everybody can you all see the Jamboard link in the chat box? Does everybody have access to that? And Justin, if you can let me know, or folks can let me know if folks are comfortable with that, I can go ahead and do a quick explanation if that's helpful.
Yes, we just put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Okay, screen sharing has up. Okay, so let's see. Is everybody able to get to the Jamboard right now if we did that together as a team?
Yep, it's all good here.
Okay. And for some reason, I think I stopped sharing my screen. Do we need directions on how to use the Jamboard?
I think we're good, Maureen.
Are you good? Okay. So if everyone could just give hi for those folks that just joined in, we're just going to do just a quick activity. I'd like you to use the Jamboard just to talk a little bit about maybe what your impression of what a global citizen would be. Why would we want to think about global citizenship? Why might that be an important goal for our classrooms? And if everybody can take a look at that, and if you need direction, I can probably help out. So perfect. It looks like people are already jumping in. And I put in 3 pages. So if you need more space, feel free to go to another one. If everybody is comfortable, if you're not sure how to do this, I think I stopped sharing my screen. So let me do that again. So if you're new to this, you can either use a pen if you want to pull that over and you can start writing, or you can do the stickies. I find the sticky notes to be the easiest. Okay, I'm going to give everybody just another minute. These are wonderful. I just love what I'm seeing. It means being able to interact with others in a variety of diverse situations, being aware of other cultures and respectful of their customs and beliefs. I'm going to move this one here. Being responsible for the world we live in and helping others to take that responsibility seriously. Being aware and caring about the impact you have on others, embracing what every individual student has to offer from various cultures, being open-minded to different opinions, and recognizing contributions to our society and life as a whole, taking action on an issue and making a commitment to change, and being aware of cultural and other social differences. And I love the imagery. I stuck in a picture of my students when I was last in the classroom. And part of that was just based on the fact that they were my inspiration to travel. So the students that you saw in that little picture, each one of those students was from a different country. I had a student from Ethiopia, a student from Serbia, a student from the United States, a student from the Philippines, and a student from Eritrea. So I'm sure all of us, especially in the Valley, have pretty diverse classrooms. And that's one of the, I think that's one of the main features of what I'm hoping we can do in the Valley is begin to introduce our cultural traditions to one another. I think that that's hopefully a piece that we'll be able to bring. So how many, again, I can't see all of you at the same time, which I know you're all used to. I'm just thankful I don't know if I would have made it through the school year looking at the different screens, but if you don't mind just unmuting, if any of you have already looked at the global competency wheel that I'm showing up on the screen here, this is from the Asia Society. So we borrowed this and it pretty much summarizes what you've already indicated. The take action piece is huge, as is investigate. And to me, if you look at investigate, it's the same as inquiry. So what I want folks to see here is that what you're already doing when you're doing any one of the frameworks, whether you're ELA or history, social studies, you're already implementing a lot of what we're talking about with global competence. It is a bit of a shift, so I'm going to have us take a look at that. But I'm just curious, by a raise of hands, or if anybody wants to unmute, have people seen this before? Are you familiar with the? Are you familiar with this?
I can't see the wheel. Was it shared in the chat at the beginning?
No, it should be on my PowerPoint. Am I not? Is that I'm not? You can't see my PowerPoint anymore? You're
on the Jamboard still.
Oh, okay. So let me try something else. Let me try. Thank you for letting me know that, Gina.
No problem.
It's like I'm in my own little world here. All right. What about now? No?
No.
No, we don't see anything being shared right now.
Okay.
I don't
all
think,
right.
I don't think you're in share screen mode anymore.
Okay, so let me see. Try again and see what happens. All right. Did we do it yet?
There we go.
There
We
you
see
go.
your slide deck now.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay. Okay, this is what I thought I was sharing with you right here. Can everybody see that? The wheel now? Are people familiar with that? Have you seen it before? Is it brand new? And just jump in. We have a small group, so I'm fine with anybody just jumping in.
It kind of looks like the ITSE standards wheel.
It's basically what I wanted to let people know is when we say global competence, I think a lot of times people think, oh my goodness, that's another thing I get to add to my plate. But really, it's embedded. It's embedded in the history social studies framework. It's embedded in most of the frameworks. And the verbiage is slightly different. So inquiry, investigate, recognize perspectives is really looking at sourcing and evidence, communicating ideas, whether we're talking about speaking, writing, or reading. All of those go together, and then take action, which was talked about. So this is something that I think is new with global competence that CJEP has brought forward. And I think particularly with this year, these are so important. These are some of the soft skills that people have been learning about, social emotional learning for many years now. And we have actually 22 of these. So I will make those available in the shared folder that Justin will be sharing a link, I think, for all of you who are attending today. And I think that every single one of us in a classroom is trying to figure out how to do this. And sometimes it seems a little overwhelming, whether we're talking about anything from notebook skills to public speaking skills. And so one of the things that I wanted to just posit is, what if we just focused on one? What if we just looked at one indicator, one idea for getting at some of some of what you put on the Jamboard? You know, how do we begin to reach out to other people? And it begins with active listening. And that's something that all of us can work on. I certainly know I can work on that. And I think active listening gets us to the piece that we're seeing on the screen right now, which is empathy. So just so you know, for those of you in the classroom right now, some of us in CEGEP have been using these in our practice at home with one another. And then by extension, we can bring that into our classrooms. So this year in particular, I think we kind of see ourselves, the United States, as being unique in having historic elections and having polarized electorates. I'm seeing that around the world, and I'm sure some of you are as well. And we can see the global pandemic, climate change. We're seeing racial reckoning across the globe. And we also see the diversity that you all talked about that I think really connects us to the larger world. And so I think one of the things that's really cool about what CEGEP has to offer, and where that intersects with history, social science, is with what we're dealing with, all the issues that every single one of us is dealing with. And I wanted you to take a few minutes and just think for a minute, no matter what you're teaching. These are the UN Sustainable Development Goals. There's something that we work with in our curriculum. But I wanted you just to take a few minutes. If you have a piece of paper handy, I should have said that at the beginning, but if you have a piece of paper handy or a notepad, if you can just take a minute and think about your curriculum. And I know this year's curriculum is probably looking a lot different than your typical curriculum. You can use this year's, or you can think about your broader curriculum if this were an in-person year from the get-go. And I want you to think about your lessons and think about, write down, just kind of brainstorm as many lessons as you can think of where you're already doing this. In other words, in a lesson that you're doing on the Great Depression, you're touching on poverty. A lesson that you're doing on reduced inequalities is going to pop in your civil rights unit. So take a minute, and you may have some favorite lessons that are subsets of those topics. And just brainstorm, if you will, maybe 5 to 10 places where you see yourself already doing this. And then I'd like you to just kind of highlight your top 3. So just go ahead and I was going to have you do this in breakout rooms, but I think since we have a smaller group, it's okay just to do this, I think, as a large group. I can't see all of you, so if somebody wants to let me know that maybe isn't even showing their face, just in the chat room, if you need a few more minutes, or if you are feeling like you're close to finishing up.
Maureen, we got about half who said they are ready, and I got a few more coming. And just in case you change your mind, I have 5 pairs ready to go in breakout rooms, just in case.
Okay. It looks like more people added in. So if we wanted to, I did want to make this a bit engaging. So if you wanted to, what we could do is go ahead and just do breakout rooms for, I would say, about 7 minutes, and maybe just talk through lessons that you already have created where you see an integration with some of these topics that are global in scope, big issues. So that would be great. Do you want to go ahead and just maybe provide, it looks like 7 minutes, would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay, and then and then we can go ahead and share the group. And then Justin, if I want to join in, I've done that when I can talk to you about that in a minute. I guess you can throw me in a group as well.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the main room, and then I can send you into rooms.
Okay, perfect.
So
Thank you.
7 minutes, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so everyone should have gotten an invite.
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to try to move forward, and folks in the chat, if you have, if there's a couple people, just 2, that would share out what they discovered in their pairs. If we have some brave souls that would be willing to talk about what they noticed in their discussion. Do we have anybody that's willing to unmute?
If that's okay.
Sure, if you want to share, I'm going to give just 30 seconds because I want to get to the virtual exchange.
Okay.
I'll go. I was with a partner and I was quite impressed. She teaches high school geography kinds of courses that across the course of a year. She finds that all of those elements are in some way incorporated in different units. Not all of them necessarily in any one, but across the year.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. And Fernando, do you want to share what you shared with me?
Sure. Well, actually, basically, I can answer that in one word. Ditto to my colleague. That just think it's the same stuff. That not necessarily in that order, or it's already in our education, how we're teaching our students. Because I think I said one of the things I said, that we want to produce those global citizens. Because of technology, we're now no longer just citizens of the U.S. or the Americas. We're citizens of the world, because we can get hooked and to communicate within seconds. Think about what we're doing right now, and so that's
perfect.
Right.
That's perfect. That's a perfect segue, and I'm sorry to speed through, but I wanted to make sure that. So I wanted you to think about this for a second. So I don't want to scare you, and I think most of you probably found that you're teaching some of these UN Sustainable Development Goals, because they're things that kids can relate to. What if you could design a lesson with somebody on gender equality in Iran, and talk about gender equality in the United States and gender equality in Iran, and come up with some ideas about how kids could talk to each other about maybe an issue that they share in common? Or what would it be like to talk about climate and how that's having an impact in South Africa, where they've had an extensive series of drought years, just like we have. So what if kids in the Valley could talk to South African students and share a little bit about what they're experiencing? So these programs are out there and they're free. There's a little bit of a qualifier to the free part, but I want to show you one that is very cool, and that's in the next video. So I'm going to go ahead and move this forward, and hopefully this link is going to work. And hopefully you can hear. If you can't hear, let me know.
Internet and email, young people wrote letters to pen pals who lived thousands of miles away. But today's technology allows teens to make virtual pen pals that they can speak in real time. Crystal Young takes us to a school in the Bronx where the kids are building friendships with peers across the country and around the world.
These students at University Heights High School in the South Bronx are part of a unique program that allows them to get up close and personal with their peers, even though they're thousands of miles away. Today, they're chatting with kids in Tampico, Mexico.
Something that we'll likely be able to relate to the most.
The Narrative 4 program is a virtual pen pal system for the 21st century student. This inflatable video room provided by Brooklyn tech startup Shared Studios has become their classroom. It allows them to connect on a more intimate level than Skype. The goal of this program, to turn empathy into action. For these students, not only is it educational, but it makes the world a lot smaller. Principal Hazel Roseborough agrees.
They're very empowered because the students are the ones who decide what empathy in the action program they're going to work on together.
It's definitely changed my perspective. I think it's very easy to kind of like see everyone who doesn't look like you as like the other. But I think as you exchange stories and as to like you just humanize everybody.
The program, which has been in the school for 4 years, also allows these students to visit some of the kids they've been communicating with. This school got a chance to go to rural Kentucky.
Ever since my first summit with New Orleans with the program, I was like, oh my God, I love to travel. So that was my first time getting on an airplane, and then after that I fell in love. I was like, I need to go here, I need to go there, I'm ready.
Omar Khan thinks Narrative 4 has taught him valuable skills he'll use for the rest of his life.
Empathy is a very important skill that everyone should have, especially going to like colleges where everybody isn't like the same as you.
Breaking down cultural barriers and finding similarities, it's clear Narrative 4 students are being taught life lessons and more.
Obviously, it's fun, but at the same time, there's some real substance here. They're talking about some very important community issues.
Absolutely. They talk about things that happen where they live that are important to them, and they're finding out that these kids, while they might live in Kentucky or Mexico or in the South Bronx, that they're more alike than they thought they were.
That's a nice thing to do.
Which is super, super sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of old-fashioned, but it works.
You got it.
We should mention, too, by the way, University Heights High School. Fantastic. 100% successful graduation rate. I think that's fabulous.
You got it. These kids are in the South Bronx. It's gritty city, but they are positive and energetic and clearly the future.
Thank you, Crystal, for sharing that with us. Good stuff, okay? All right, long before the era of the internet.
Okay, I don't know, was everybody able to hear that? I think the volume was as high as I could put it on my computer, but I will get those links to you, and Justin has those if you'd like to follow up. That link is not, you can't just find that on YouTube, it's through Narrative 4. So I'm just curious, what do you guys think of that? Any comments? How about John? I haven't heard from you yet. Would you mind just sharing? Are you familiar with something like that? Have you seen any of this before?
I am familiar with international communication projects. I think it's fantastic and we should be doing more of it.
Okay, so that's what I want to help you guys do. So I don't know if we'll have time to show you the Empatico one, which is also 2 minutes, but I can show you that if we want, if we can take a consensus. Every single one of these that you see up here are vetted. In other words, these are tried and true programs that have been around for some as many as 10 years. And so they know what they're doing. And they actually even have programs. If you have students right now who are still doing the, distance learning, and you want to give them something extra to do, both Global Nomads and Gen Global basically have 2 completely independent programs that students can log on to, they can check it out, and they can practice both their dialogue skills and learn what dialogue is, so they can get into active listening. And then they can also publish their blogs. So they can publish a blog about what's happening with the COVID situation here now. They can publish on topics related to art and music. They can publish related to what's happening in the environment. And they don't even need you to be present because they have vetted folks who have gone through background checks, who are monitoring those chat rooms to make sure that the conversations and to make sure that the postings are appropriate. And then those organizations are also facilitating an opportunity for students to get into a room. And by the way, you don't need the Narrative 4 bubble machine to do this, right? You just need a classroom with the internet connection. So that's just a little bit over the top. I have teachers right now, and I wanted to ask you about this. I literally have teachers that have done this, that I could put in a room and answer questions for you or help you get a little bit more comfortable about what this might look like in your classroom, take some baby steps and try it out. But that's what we're here for, is to try to get people to kind of take that plunge. There's nothing more, I think, transformative than having kids listen to other people's stories from all over the world. So I'm going to keep going here. Do you want to listen to the Empatico one? It's 2 minutes long. Do you have friends or folks that might be interested in looking at kind of a 1st through 6th? It's basically K-6 model. Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, so we'll listen to this one.
This is my friend Miriam's house. This is Miriam. This is where she does her homework. Her favorite thing to do is knitting. So far, she has knitted a beanie and a scarf for her friend. She lives in South Africa. I live in America. This is me.
That's my friend, Lily. At her school, they don't wear uniforms like we do. In the summertime, they play outside on the playground. She loves playing football the most, but she calls it soccer. I also love playing soccer. That's me. My name is Latif.
That's my friend, Latif. He lives in Nigeria. At school, they play soccer during break. Latif's 2 best subjects are mathematics and art. And he loves to dance with his friends.
We understand ourselves and others through stories. We learn a lot of these stories when we're young, during childhood. Who we learn from and who we know shape how we understand the world. These stories form the foundation for how we think about others.
Do you like swimming?
Empatico is a free online learning tool for educators. It connects classrooms to offer children the opportunity to build relationships with their peers around the world. It helps deepen empathy at a young age. But most importantly, Empatico helps humans see each other as humans.
Okay, I actually get really excited when I see that. I've seen it about 100 times. It still brings a smile to my face. So I was gonna have you do a narrative for a virtual storytelling session, but we're not gonna be able to fit that in. But I wanted to, and I'll make this available. Here are some of the links. Empatico is easy, it's just empatico.org. Everything else is kind of set up for older students, except for Narrative 4. Narrative 4 is for any age, but they do have a protocol for you to follow. I went through their facilitator program this summer. I think it took me, maybe about 4 hours to do that. They put on a free concert with Sting and Roseanne Cash, and just made that widely available. And the person who's behind it is the author Colum McCann. MCCANN, who, if you've ever read his books, they're phenomenal. So I'm going to go through kind of quickly here. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question, Maureen.
Go ahead, Gina.
Could Empatico still be used like in the 7th and 8th grade as like a getting started, or is it better to just use it for K through 6?
I would use it K through 6. I haven't used it myself, but from talking to teachers who at the middle school level, they kind of feel that Empatico and some of the sentence starters and things like that, and there is geared to a younger kid. And so your middle school students might feel a little bit talked down to in terms of sentence frames, but Global Nomads is fantastic and Generation Global are fantastic. And I'd be happy to connect you with some of the folks that could help, move you along in terms of understanding what to do. So it's really not hard. They do have these programs that they actually set up this summer that they piloted just for students to do on their own, so that teachers wouldn't have to find a way to integrate it into their curriculum. And so that might be a baby step to just start with. And then you might think about next year, if we get some normality, whatever the heck that's going to look like, you can think about maybe partnering with the teacher, at some level.
Right. Thank you. I'm thinking it'd be perfect. We have nothing like this as like a club or like an after school activity. That's what I'm thinking. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I think in fact, that was one of the suggestions that I was going to make. If some of you are club advisors, this might be a great way, you could call it the World Club or the Global Club, or have your students create the name of the club, whatever they want to call it. And they can begin, really, the parents just actually give the permission themselves directly. So it kind of bypasses the teacher in that you don't have to micromanage it. And that's why I spent some time this summer trying to get on top of which programs were going to be the easiest and the most vetted, as well as high quality. So the ones that I showcased for you today fit that. I really have looked at that from a teacher lens. So I'm going to move through a little quicker because I only have 5 minutes, if that's okay. But I want to encourage people. I have my email address on the last slide. Please reach out. Please follow up. So right now, we just started conversations. We're also doing, as part of what the Global Ed Project is doing, is conversations about race, racism, and what you can do to work on anti-racist policies in your classroom and with students. And so we're getting it ready for our second session on Wednesday. And my goal here is to bring in as many teachers as possible. This is like falling face forward. No one wants to talk about race. No one wants to talk about racism. No one wants to talk about this stuff, but we live it every day. And so what we're trying to do is get some practice going. So how can we practice those conversations, gain some confidence, and then figure out how to bring that to our students? So these are some flyers that you might see coming up in the next couple of months. And my hope is that individual teachers might just take a group of people that are in their building and say, hey, let's just do this. Let's just read this book together and discuss it. I'm hopefully modeling some ways to do that, but I just wanted to toss that out. I've just set this up for January, February, and March. So just building on this cultural connection. In January, we have 3 workshops planned to drill down and focus on Afghanistan, El Salvador, and Syria. We picked those kind of just because we felt like there's not a lot of knowledge about why people are coming from places like Central America and El Salvador, and helping teachers understand why people are coming here and what that experience is like. The same for Syria. We did have immigrants coming in and being resettled from Syria up to 2017, especially in the Turlock-Modesto region. And Afghanistan is a place where we probably know people have served in Afghanistan. And we probably have students in our classroom who are still being settled here. Okay, one other thing that we're working on is getting teachers outside in groups less than 10. Out on the refuges when we start to have peak wildlife season, which is basically January and February. So it's something to look for. If you make sure that I have your email, I can send you flyers. We're working on a website because I'm doing it and I'm not that smart when it comes to websites. It's taking forever. So we will eventually have a website, and we're hoping to have an Instagram account so that we can kind of keep people informed. You may have seen these flyers. We had to cancel the one on the left because it just was the wrong time, but we're trying to resuscitate that. And you'll see that this is our book study coming up. So we're looking for teacher input. I want to make this by and for teachers as much as possible. Teacher driven. What do you need? What's going to fill you? What's going to get you excited? What's going to get your kids engaged? And so any way that you can do that, I'm going to be, I don't know if Justin can stick in the chat. You probably don't have time to fill it out. But if you guys can get the chat, out of the chat, the survey that he's going to toss in there, it'll just take you 5 or 7 minutes. And I'd love to get your ideas. This is going to be as good as the input that we receive from teachers. You know, if you said, gee, why'd you pick Afghanistan? We'd really like to learn more about Colombia. I'm open to that. So it just, you know, keep an open line of communication is what I want to say. I have, I think, just 1 more minute. So this is how you can get a contact with me. And like I said, there's plenty of opportunities for expanding in very baby steps your connection with the larger world through Empatico, through Global Nomads, through Gen Global, or through Narrative 4. And I know your plates are super full, so whatever we offer, we want to make it really relevant and, you know, really meet your needs. Okay, so I don't know if there's any questions, but that wraps me up. I think I gave the last 5 minutes over for the CLIC folks. So are there questions, Justin, in the room, in the chat room?
No, I don't see any questions.
Okay, all right. And so I just, you know, I was a little nervous at the beginning, hopefully got a little bit less nervous towards the end, but thank you so much. I really appreciate so much of what you all are doing. Thank you so much for caring and for being here when you have so much on your plates, and I hope to stay connected. So thank you to the CLIC people for giving me the opportunity to present today. Really appreciate it. And we'll get some of these materials to you via the Google folder.
And thank you, Maureen, for taking the time to share this important information. Yeah, Audrey, virtual applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, this is such important information to share with our students to promote global citizenship. So thank you for sharing these resources. I remember, I mean, I'm at a county office of ed, and until last year, I didn't even know, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, I didn't know the California Global Education Project existed until last year. And then once I heard about it, I'm like, this is so important. There's so many wonderful resources. So thank you again, Maureen, for sharing that. So in the last few minutes, I'm going to share my screen. And I just wanted to talk about a few last items. One is one of the links I just put in the chat. Please save this bit.ly link, bit.ly/CLICR7. So when you click on there, you will have access to all of our resources for our virtual community of practice. We're going to put all of Maureen's resources in this folder as well. So if you save this link, you'll have access to everything. So that link will take you, so you can see all of our previous sessions, a future session as well. We will put the recordings for all of the sessions in here. So if anyone missed today's session, we'll put this in this virtual CP number 3 folder for today. One of the other things I wanted to highlight as well is the professional development flyers. There's some flyers in there for professional learning that we thought you may be interested in. Next Tuesday, we have our regional best results conference for English learners. That's a wonderful regional event. So we highly encourage you to join if you can. Our CLIC flyer is there as well. Also, we have one of our regional CLIC partners here, the Center for Civic Education here, John Minkler. Thanks for joining. They have a couple community events on here, a couple web dialogues coming up. So those flyers are there as well. So we highly encourage you to dive into that folder and peruse and see what you're interested in. One of the other things we also put was a survey for our regional event, for our CLIC event. So that link's in the chat. Please, please, we need that feedback. So we would really appreciate it if you can give us that feedback. So before we go, thank you all from the regional team and for sticking around with us. This is Those of you that know us, this is what we do. We do giveaways here. So those of you that joined and stuck around, I'm going to click this wheel. Actually, I'm going to shuffle it one more time. And then whoever the name comes up on the wheel, we will mail a prize. It'll take us a couple weeks. We have a little coronavirus delay as far as mailing in our office, but we will mail you a prize for joining. So here we go. So our winner is Austin. Austin, you're our winner. If you can maybe send me a private message, if you can send me your mailing address, we will mail you our prize. So thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, we'll stick around, but otherwise, please stay safe, be well, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session.